As you can tell from the title, in this video I am going to be ranking the starter Pokemon from worst to best. Now, okay, if you don't want to hear the entire explanation and my methodology behind this video, then I'll put a timestamp right here to where it'll just start with my ranking, but I wanted to give, I wanted to preface my list a little bit, and I wanted to start off by saying that this ranking is based off of aesthetic and character, like the vibe that the Pokemon gives. This isn't something where I'm like, oh, I think this is like the strongest Pokemon or the best Pokemon for your team or anything like that, and not that I don't think that's important, but that's like, for me as a fan of Pokemon, I lean a lot on aesthetics and how a Pokemon makes me feel, and so that's what a lot of this is based off of. Another thing that I wanted to point out is that this ranking is not taking into consideration their further evolutions, because I'll be honest, this list would probably look a lot different if it did, but I feel like I want to rank them on the basis of this form alone, and so I didn't want to take in other factors of like, oh well, I don't like how they evolve, or I like their evolutions more, and so it's based solely on their first form, how you see them when you first encounter them in the beginning of the game. I will apologize if one of your favorites is at the bottom of my list. It was harder to put this list together than I thought. I thought, oh, there's obviously starters that deserve to be at the bottom, and I had a really hard time with the bottom of this list, and so if it's any consolation, if your favorite starter Pokemon is at the bottom, just know it was with a heavy heart that I put them there. But without further ado, let's get started. Coming in at the bottom spot is none other than Tepig. Unfortunately, Tepig for me just does not click. I don't connect with Tepig in any way aesthetically. I think it is cute, but it's very basic. Do you know what I mean? What I like about it are its ears and the little tail that it has. But other than that, there's nothing about Tepig that is all that interesting to me. I unfortunately didn't play the original games that Tepig was from, and so I can't say that I have that sort of like connection with, oh, I remember Tepig from when I played at whatever game, and I just liked it so much, or I was exposed to it more. I mean, if anything, I was exposed to Tepig via Legends ZA and didn't pick Tepig. And I think it's cute, but it's just not for me. That's the thing. It's like, and I could completely understand why someone would really like Tepig. I don't think a pig as like a basis for a design is a bad design inspiration, but it's just like, for me, just unfortunately there's nothing there that I connect with, and so that led to Tepig being at the bottom spot. Is I just don't really like it. The name is cute. I'll give it that, but other than that, there's just nothing for me to sink my teeth into with Tepig. It's just sort of like, I feel so meh and uninterested by it. So to all the Tepig fans, I'm sorry, but I don't get anything from Tepig, and it's hard for me to even like critique it, because there's just not much to work with. And in our 29th spot is none other than Sobble. Now, this one is, you guys wouldn't know this, but I picked Sobble when I played Sword and Shield. Sobble was my starter pick in that game, and it has not withstood the test of time. Unfortunately, my enjoyment of Sobble has waned. I'll admit this now. I have a bias in favor of water starters. I liked water Pokemon a lot as a kid, and I just sort of, even though my love for water Pokemon in general has sort of like not been as consistent, throughout my adulthood in terms of like how I enjoy Pokemon, but when it comes to the starters, I tend to lean toward water, but something about Sobble does not connect with me. I will say it's kind of like cute, but it's like cute in a way that makes me uncomfortable. Like, I think of Sobble in the same way of like, when you go to your friend's house and they have like an awkward pet, and it's sort of just like is like a amphibian-esque thing. Unfortunately, Sobble does fall really hard to the bottom because now there is something else to directly compare it to, and unfortunately the Pokemon I'm comparing it to, I do favor it more. So I'm sorry, Sobble, despite you being my Sword and Shield starter, you do fall at number 29. Coming in at number 28, which I just said I favor a water starters, but unfortunately Popplio is my number 28 on this list. Again, this is going from worst to best, so that's not a good spot. Popplio, when I first thought of making this video, Popplio was the first Pokemon that came to mind that I'm like, I'm probably gonna put Popplio at the bottom. Not because I hate Popplio, it just doesn't work for me. I don't know why. I think seals are adorable animals. I think they are so cute, and I think there's like, at least for me, the way I interpret it, it has like a clown design as well, and I don't mind clowns. I am not afraid of clowns or anything. I don't think they're like scary and like whatever. Like it's not something that I'm like, oh, it makes me uncomfortable. It just doesn't. But for whatever reason, Popplio to me just does not connect. What Popplio has working for it in its favor is that it's the only seal starter Pokemon, and so there is nothing that I could compare it to like 1-to-1. But even then, it left me a little like, yeah, I don't know. It's cute, but it's not for me. I like its name a lot. I think Popplio is a really cute name, but unfortunately, it's to me a little basic and not cute in a way that resonates with me. And so, unfortunately, that does place Popplio in our number 28 spot. Coming in at number 27 is Pompon. Now, Pompon obviously is a Pokemon that I have no connection to. No one really has any connection to Pompon because we've not played the Gen 10 games, and so there's no way to like emotionally connect with it. And so that didn't negatively influence the other starters in Gen 10 as much, but it's something that obviously comes into mind. Unfortunately for me, Pompon is just a little on the basic side. Is it cute? Absolutely. I like the style of eye that they chose to give it. I like the tuft of flame-shaped hair with a red tip on its head. But apart from that, it does kind of feel like any other dog that I would see drawn in an anime. And so it just like feels a little, for me, uninspired or a little basic. It's like undeniably cute, but it's just there's I don't know, there's not much for me to be like excited about with it, especially in comparison to its other Gen 10 peers in terms of the starters. I just think for me this one felt a little basic and a little too just the animal and the type that it is, and so it didn't feel like there was any other design element outside of that for me to like grasp onto or be excited about. And coming in at number 26 on our list is Sprigatito. Unfortunately, Sprigatito does suffer from similar feelings that I have for Pompon, in that it does sort of feel like just the animal and the type. It's like a grass type cat, and there wasn't really much else to grasp onto. I think Sprigatito is cute. I love cats, and so a cat as like a design inspiration or animal, whatever inspiration is, it works for me. But like, I don't know, it also feels a little like anime cat, and then but it's just green. I don't know. I feel bad putting Sprigatito so low because, you know, when I think of when I ran into it in Pokopia, I thought it was really cute, but like, you know, putting pen to paper and actually ordering these and how much I like them and what like the favor I have toward them, Sprigatito unfortunately did just fall low on this list. But I'll be honest, I didn't hate any of these Pokemon. It's just, you know, it's a stacked category. The starters, I have to admit, are really good. Coming in at number 25 is Scorbunny. Now, one thing that I really enjoy about Scorbunny, and other starter Pokemon also share this, is that I like that its main color is not red or orange. Considering it's a fire Pokemon, I like that it's mainly white, and then that red, orange, and yellow are accent colors, and I think that's like refreshing to the eye. It's like, to me, more visually interesting. I think the reason why I don't connect with it too much is like character-wise, even though I do feel like they injected some character into this Pokemon, it does just sort of make me think of some kid that plays soccer. And you know, no hate to kids that play soccer, because reason why I almost like struggled to put it so low is that I think design-wise it's so good. I think it's so cute. I like it. I think a rabbit is like a fun choice for a starter like Pokemon animal, and I think it's the only rabbit. Looking over the list real quickly, I'm pretty sure it's the only rabbit, and so I think it's unique in that way. But yeah, personally, I don't have that connection of like, oh my gosh, I like Scorbunny so much that I'm gonna rank it that high, and so that's where it fell. But I think it's cute and I think it's well designed. I think it would make like a great mascot for something, you know what I mean? Like a kid's cereal or something like that. Next up on our list is Grookey. Now Grookey, I think out of the Gen 8 starters is my favorite. Unfortunately, I am now realizing the Gen 8 starters have ranked really low on this list, and that wasn't intentional, but I guess it is just how the cards fell, or however you say that. But yeah, Grookey for me, I think it's cute. I love monkeys. Monkeys are, you know, I think a very charming animal, not only to me, but I think to a lot of people. But I'll be honest, I don't love its color palette. I would have loved to have seen something similar to what they did with Scorbunny, where instead of the entirety of Grookey's body being green, I would have appreciated if it was like brown or orange, and then they accented it with greens and yellows in order to communicate that it is a grass Pokemon. What I do like about it is I like the little stick that it wears, and it's like leaf hair, and I like its tail. I think it's like a cute little tail. I don't know, it's a charming little guy, and I find it hard to critique it because, you know, it just looks like a little monkey baby to me, so I want to be nice to it. But yeah, Grookey for me just falls flat in terms of design, and like I am charmed by it, but like aesthetically I just don't think it's that strong, and that's why Grookey falls a little low on this list. Coming in 23rd place is Chespin. Now, when I was doing this list, I actually had to look up what animal Chespin was because I didn't know, and it said a hedgehog, and then a chestnut, which a chestnut's not an animal, but that's what they said was the design inspiration. I don't see it. I thought it was an otter. And so I think it's almost cuter to think of it as a grass otter. What I love about Chespin is its little like hat. I think its hat is so cute. I think it's adorable. I think where it like loses me a little bit is like the tail and the feet. I don't know, it just seems a little like, I think the problem with me about Chespin is like, even though I find it cute for whatever reason, I don't feel myself all that like excited about it. Like I said, I like its hat. I think it has a cute face. I actually like it actually has the color palette that I was asking for from Grookey, where it's like mainly brown, and then it has like green as accents. But I don't know, Chespin for me is just not really like a Pokemon that I look out for. I love its shiny form. I think it from the starter Pokemon has one of the better shinies, but that's not something I could use as a criteria to like judge them on because, well, I don't remember them all of them off the top of my head. Yeah, Chespin for me, just I don't have the emotional connection. Aesthetically, it's fine, it's kind of cute, but not in a way that excites me, and so that's why Chespin fell on the lower half of our list. Coming in at number 22, unfortunately, and it breaks my heart to say, is Torchic. Torchic is a Pokemon that I loved as a child, but if I'm going to be honest, my love for it is not with like it is just this, what I guess salamander with a fire tail, and it works, But as much as I could say like, oh, Charizard is such a cool Pokemon or whatever, I am ranking them on this form alone, and by that standard, Charmander, just does fall at this point on the list. And next up, we have Fennekin. I think Fennekin is really cute. I went out of my way to shiny on Fennekin, and so there's something about it that I like. I like the proportions of it. I love how large its ears are, and its tail in comparison to its body. I think it gives it a very like cutesy, like little baby animal look, and so I think that's very charming. I go back and forth about how I feel about the tufts of hair in its ear. Like, as on aesthetic alone, I like it. I like how it looks. I like that it communicates fire about this Pokemon. But when I think about it in a practical sense, I'm kind of like grossed out by it. And so I try not to think about it too much, but like based purely on aesthetic and not biology, Fennekin, there's a lot to like about Fennekin, but yeah, just not one of my favorites. Okay, coming in at number 19 is Squirtle. Now, I have a lot of love for Squirtle. I think, for being one of the original starter Pokemon, I think it's really strong. A turtle Pokemon, obviously water type, although we do have a turtle that is not water type, but we'll get to that Pokemon in a second. But I think it's simple but effective in the best way possible. I mean it entirely as a compliment. I just, I think, again, I keep saying it, but there are just a lot of great starters. I think that's something that I realized when I was putting this list together. I just like a lot of them, and so, it's not that I dislike Squirtle in any regard. I think I just like a lot of other Pokemon above it, but I like its tail. I like its head. I love its, I like the Pokemon with the big round heads, I'll be honest. They are very adorable to me, and so I have a lot of love for Squirtle, and so number 19 is not a bad spot. I don't mean that as any sort of critique on it. It is where it fell. Coming in at number 18, speaking of big-headed Pokemon, is Oshawott. I think Oshawott is adorable. I think having an otter as a design inspiration is very, very cute, and I was gonna say unique, but I was saying earlier how we interpreted Chespin as an otter. But yeah, I think it's really cute. I like its big round head. My favorite part of it is the seashell on its belly. I think it is a very cute reference to the animal that it is inspired by, but it also does a good job of communicating that this is a water Pokemon, and so it is so cute. It is so well designed. I think the only reason that it falls this low on the list is that aesthetically it does remind me a lot of Piplup. I think the silhouettes are very similar in terms of their big heads, the body shape, the arms, the feet, and even like a little tail thing, and so I do favor Piplup a lot more, but I do like Oshawott a lot. But yeah, Oshawott gets a thumbs up for me. Okay, coming in at number 17 and rounding out our starter, our original starter Pokemon is Bulbasaur. I think Bulbasaur, unlike Charmander and Squirtle, is actually very unique. And I'm not saying they're not unique, but I think they're like just an animal and an element. Whereas I don't know what animal Bulbasaur is supposed to be. He is sort of this maybe reptilian, almost looks like a dog. I don't know. With a bulb on its back, I think it is the most like creature-like. It feels the most fantasy to me. Do you know what I mean? I like that I can't necessarily say it is this animal and move on. I like that it sort of leaves me guessing. I like the patterns, like the spots that it has. I love the bulb on its back. I think that's fun. I think it again, I don't think there exists an animal that has a plant bulb growing on its back. And I like the color palette. I think even though it doesn't stray from like the greenish teal at all, I think the balance of it really works, and I like the red of its eyes to at least break up from the green a little bit. So I think Bulbasaur, for being the first grass starter, is actually really strong because it doesn't feel like, it feels really inspired and it feels creative to me. Okay, coming in at number 16 is Chikorita. Now, if you have heard me, if you watch my Legends EA video, or if you've ever heard me talk about Chikorita, then maybe you would have thought Chikorita would have ranked higher, and to be honest, I thought it would have too. But I have to admit that Chikorita is another one of the ones that's just a little basic, 15 out of 30 is none other than Litten. Guys, I love Litten so much. I think Litten is so cute. I love the pattern on its head. I love that it's majority black with highlights red. You know, there is a big balance. You could almost say it's 50-50, but I would go as far as to say it's majority black. And I will say, if, you know, I do want to get a cat, and if I had my choice, I would get a black cat. So that bias is working in favor of Litten. One thing that I like about it in comparison to Sprigatito is I like Litten's eyes more. I think they feel more like feline to me. I like that his eyes are yellow and then like it has the long skinny pupil. I think that's really cute. I like that it has like a frayed tail, and like its whisker tufts things are also frayed. It sort of gives like explosion, which I think communicates a fire in a secondary way very well. And so yeah, I have a lot of love for Litten. I do, similar to when I see other kittens do just want to like give them a kiss on its forehead. And so yeah, I'm sort of just talking about how much I like cats at this point, but yes, I like Litten a lot. Okay, coming in at number 14 is Kekwa. Now, you know, for a Pokemon that I have no emotional attachment to, I am very excited about Kekwa. I think Kekwa is a big swing. It is like this Gecko Pokemon, which they don't stop there. For whatever reason, they gave it lashes and nails, which I think is very funny, but I think it's like, I can see those elements of its design really paying off, like them evolving in a way that's very interesting and could be useful in battle. But I mean, obviously I can't say, oh, it ranked this high because of its evolutions, because I don't know what its evolutions look like. I like its eye style. I think it's one of the most unique ones in terms of Pokemon starter Pokemon eye styles. It's the most unique one. I like the pink in it. I think it's like a nice touch of color that breaks apart from the traditional blues of a water Pokemon. I like that, you know, it does have a water droplet on the middle of its head. I think, you know, we have to communicate this thing is water, but it doesn't look tacky in any way. I think, you know, when you think of geckos or you think of other, like, you know, amphibious or reptilian creatures, you do think of them patterned. And so I don't know. I think it makes sense, and I like Kekwa a lot, and I'm excited about Kekwa. Coming in at number 13, another Gen 10 starter is Prout. Now, Prout is, I will say, more simple than Kekwa, but Prout evokes more of an emotional reaction from me. I think Prout is adorable. I like its built-in little leaf browns that, you know, as much as you could say make it look grumpy, I think it just looks so cute. I think Prout is just adorable. I wouldn't, you know, pick him up and give him a little kiss on the forehead. I think Prout looks like a little cream puff, like I do. Like, well, I can't say I want to eat him, but like he just looks so adorable and fluffy and sweet. I like the little tuft of feathers on its head. I find it very interesting and actually enjoyed that its like feet and its bottom half are just black. I think they're gonna do something interesting with that, but you know, on its own in this form, I think it looks fun, and I think it looks silly. It doesn't take away, you know, comparing chick Pokemon. Prout does have a lot more character and personality than Torchic, just based off design alone, and so I think that's what really speaks to me about Prout. You know, I did rank Prout higher than Kekwa, but I just gotta go on record. I don't know who I'm gonna pick as my starter, but obviously I am a bit biased in favor of Prout in this moment. Okay, coming in at number 12 is Snivy. Now, Snivy is a Pokemon that has grown on me a lot. When I first saw Snivy, like the first time I ever saw Snivy, I think I just completely disregarded it. I wasn't all that interested. I wasn't really compelled by its design at all, but I actually think Snivy is a really strong design. It's a big swing that pays off. I like the like leaves on its tail. I think it's, you know, a fun way to decorate a snake Pokemon. Do you know what I mean? Because obviously snakes don't have decorations on their tails like that, unless you consider a rattle, but rattles don't look like that. And I think it's fun that they give a grasp or a snake Pokemon arms and feet. I mean, obviously that's not traditional for snakes, and I really like its collar. I think the like touch of yellow on its eyelid looks really cool too, and I like how they bring it all together by making its iris brown. And I think it does, unlike Prout, have like the traditional grass Pokemon colors of green, yellow, brown, and you know, the ones that we're used to seeing, but it works really well. I think Snivy's a really strong Pokemon, and a Pokemon that maybe had I made this list a couple years ago would have ranked a lot lower, but I like Snivy a lot now. Coming in at number 11, Chimchar. Now, I've recently found out that Chimchar is not as beloved as I thought he was. I saw this Reddit post where they were like eliminating the fire starters, like, and I guess the last one eliminated its head. I think it's so cute. And so I don't know why people don't like Chimchar as much. I love monkeys. I think monkeys are a beloved animal, and I think, you know, this is Fire Monkey in its purest, best form. So yeah. Okay, now we're in the top 10, so let's lock in, because we are amongst my favorites, the ones that I couldn't picture myself ranking lower. Coming in at number 10 is Quaxly. I really like Quaxly. I did not pick it as my starter, but I gotta say, it is a Pokemon that has grown on me. I think Quaxly is so freaking adorable. It has a lot of character, and I think it's really interesting. I think that big blob floof on its head, I think, is such an interesting design element. I don't think it necessarily, like, I think it's similar to the bulb on Bulbasaur's back. To me, it gives more like fictional creature, because I'm like, well, ducks don't have those on their head, like they don't have these coifs of hair, but I think it really works, and I think it's really cute. I think it's just so charming. I love its little blue feet too. I think it's just so adorable. And yeah, I don't know when it happened, guys, but when I was putting this list together, I was like, oh, Quaxly keeps moving up and up and up and up. Yeah, I know it's gonna be a controversial pick, but I'll stand by it. Okay, coming in at number 9 is Trico. Trico is just so freaking cool. Now we have, I guess, two Gecko-esque Pokemon between Gekwa and Trico, and I think they're both really strong. I like Trico a lot. I think one of the strong elements of its design is the splash of red on its belly and on the lower half of its mouth. I think that works really well. I like its eyes a lot. It's very similar to Litten in that regard, but you know, even though I said it works as like a feline type eye, I think, interestingly enough, it works as a lizard type eye. And so yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense. But yeah, I like the shape of its head. I think it just really works. I love its tail too. I think Draco is just such a cool Pokemon, and even though I wouldn't say like, oh, it's adorable, it's just cool looking. And so I think that says a lot for me as someone who favors cute over a lot of things when it comes to Pokemon. I think Draco is just like, yeah, this thing is so freaking cool, and I like it a lot. And so yeah, much love to number 9, Draco. Coming in at number 8, and I can't imagine, you know, that this is a controversial take by any means. Rowlet is our number 8 in our top 10 of the starter Pokemon ranking. I think Rowlet is just so cute. Rowlet, more than any other Pokemon, has so little of the color that it's supposed to, like, of the type that it correlates with. And so the only green that we really see on Rowlet is its little grass bow tie, and it is such a cute touch. He looks like such a dapper little guy, dapper little gentleman, and it is so freaking adorable. It just being a big ball with little feet, and then the cutest little eyes. It is just so hard to not, you know, love Rowlet. I can't imagine that there are a lot of Rowlet haters out there. I mean, I'm sure there are, but I am not one of them. I just love Rowlet so much. I think it's so cute, and yeah, I think it was a bold choice to go for like beige and white as the majority of its design, but that little touch of green I think really pays off, and I just love Rowlet a lot. I can imagine myself hugging Rowlet. Coming in at number 7 is Turtwig. Turtwig is adorable. Another beneficiary of big-headed cuteness when it comes to the starters. I just love Turtwig so much. The little twig on its head is adorable and works well with its name. I like the accent of yellow on its feet and on its jaw, on its bottom jaw. I think that works really well. I just think Turtwig just has one of those faces that is just so cute. Its big cheeks are so adorable. There's so much to love about Turtwig, and you know, again, I don't think this is gonna be a controversial choice. I think Turtwig's pretty beloved, or I'd be surprised to find out if it wasn't. But I love Turtwig a lot. I think the Gen 4 starters are really strong. But yeah, much love to Turtwig. It is adorable. Coming in at number 6 is Totodile. I love Totodile. When I was playing Legends EA, I went in saying, okay, I'm gonna pick Chikorita, but then when I was confronted with the choice of picking Totodile, I almost went with it, because Totodile is just so cute. Totodile kind of gives the energy of, like, you know, maybe you go pick up your kid from kindergarten, they're like, yeah, he bit one of the other kids, like, you know, we know he didn't mean to, but still, you know, we gotta work on that. beloved starters. I think a lot of people really like Mudkip, and I am amongst them, you know what I mean? Mudkip is clearly beloved for a reason, and so yeah, much love to Mudkip. Coming in at number 4 is my personal choice out of the Scarlet and Violet starters, Fuecoco. I think Fuecoco is so cute. Fuecoco has that dumb look on its face that I can't help but love, and I promise I mean that as nothing but a compliment. I like its big middle tooth on the top. I think it is just so charming. I think it is so cute that it's shaped as like a pepper, you know what I mean? Because, you know, it's a fire Pokemon and that communicates, you know, hot. I like its little like yellow stem hair on its head. I think its shape is just so, it's so like chunky and it has these big chunky feet. I think Fuecoco is just so charming. He's so freaking cute. I mean, just looking at him, I'm like, yeah, I remember why I like this little guy so much. It is so freaking adorable. I like it so much. Okay, coming in at number 3 is Cyndaquil. I couldn't put Cyndaquil any lower on this list. Cyndaquil is just so freaking cute. It's the highest ranked fire Pokemon, but yeah, Cyndaquil is just so adorable. I think it's supposed to be like a hedgehog, echidna type thing, and I think that is so freaking cute. I actually appreciate that the only red or orange on Cyndaquil are the flames on its back. I think otherwise it being beige and what, like a dark tealish color, dark greenish, I don't know what you would call that. I think it's so cute. Its eyes being in that shape just make it look like it's like so cheery and happy all the time. I think it is adorable. It's just such a little cutie. And so yeah, I mean, I picked Cyndaquil for my starter in Legends EA. Cyndaquil is a really strong choice, and I think it is so cute, so charming, and there's a lot to love about it. Okay, coming in at number 2 is Froakie. Now, this should not come as a surprise if you watch my videos, either Legends EA or Pokopia, but I love Froakie a lot. I think Froakie is so freaking cute. I think a frog Pokemon or a frog water Pokemon is a very obvious choice, but they work with it so well. I think the like white bubbles on its nose and around its neck are so adorable, and I think it brings it more into this fictional aspect that I enjoy. It makes it feel like a Pokemon and not just an animal. I like its big, you know, big eye stalks. I don't know, what do you call that? And I like that its eyeballs are yellow instead of just being traditionally white. I think it is so cute, and I like that it looks like it has gloves on with its front hands being white as well. I don't know, I think it is just so cute. I like when its eye shape changes. It makes it feel more froggy to me. I have, you know, referenced him as my son in my playthroughs because, you know, I love it so much. And so yeah, and I think its evolutions are great too, but on the basis of its starter form, or on its first evolution alone, I think it is strong. It is strong all around, even on the metrics that I'm not measuring it by. But yeah, much love to Froakie. Now, number 1 should not be a surprise to you if you've been with me for a while. Guys, number 1 is Piplup. Now, I said Froakie was my son, and of course Froakie is my son, but Piplup is my other son that I love so much. You know, if you watch my Pokopia series, then you would know my little running joke about, you know, Piplup, my son on his first day of school. Can't you tell how excited he is? I just love Piplup so much. He is another beneficiary, and I think the strongest beneficiary of the big cute head syndrome, and I think it is just adorable. I love the little circles that it has on its front. They look like little buttons, and I like its like front tuft tail that like extends to its back. He looks like he's wearing a little suit, like similar to Rowlet. He looks like a little dapper gentleman, and it is just adorable. Piplup is one of just the cutest Pokemon out there, like of all time. I just love Piplup so much, and it is one that I loved as a kid, and that love from my childhood has remained strong, held strong this entire time. And so yeah, I yourselves. And well, if you're sleeping, sleep tight and sweet dreams.